Ladies and gentlemen, from the depths of flyover country in the heartland of America, the Kansas City on the other side of the mighty Mo, welcome to Hittin the Bricks with Kathleen, the do-it-yourself genealogy podcast that features your questions and her answers. I am John, your humble hubby host, and today we'll be talking to Sherri Camp, the Topeka and Shawnee County Public Library Genealogy Librarian. So let's start Hittin the Bricks. Ready to go. Kathleen. Hey, baby. She hates when I do that. Hey, baby. Do you want to kick us off, because we're here with Sherri Camp, and let's just dive in. How do you know? How does Sherri end up in our studio?
I don't know how Sherri and I met, but it's been a while because I know I knew her in 2010. Sherri, how did we meet?
We met at Roots Tech. You were talking to Darius Gray, and I happened to be standing there waiting to talk to him, and we got introduced.
Yes, and Darius Gray, John, is our cousins from Nebraska. The Lincoln, Nebraska cousins. His family is, at least. He's from Salt Lake City.
Mm-hmm.
And
yes.
So, Sherri, what do you do now? And where are you? Are you in Kansas City, or are you
I am in Topeka, Kansas, but I have to say, I am from Chiefs Kingdom, okay? I live in Topeka, Kansas now, and I've been here for 30 plus years. I'm not going to date myself too much. I've been here for a while. I'm the Genealogy Librarian at the library here in Topeka, and I'm also the chapter president for the Afro-American Historical and Genealogical Society. We call it OGS for short, because that's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay? And so I'm the president of the Kansas chapter, so we call our chapter COGS.
Go ahead, Kathleen.
Let's back up a little bit on that, Sherri. First of all, what is the Topeka Genealogical Department? Is that what you said? You're head of what there?
I am the Genealogy Librarian at the Topeka and Shawnee County Public Library.
So, Kathleen, Topeka is your old stomping ground, isn't it?
I was born in Topeka. My mother taught at Topeka High. My grandmother went to school in Topeka. So Topeka is part of my definitely my background. But I'm really interested in what Sherri does.
Wait a minute. I get to say my connection to Topeka.
Okay. Oh, you have a connection to Topeka?
Yeah, I've driven through it numerous times.
Wow. So, Sherri, what exactly does a library genealogist do? And one of the reasons I ask is because I write a lot about how our librarians really support us in the genealogy community. And I want the listeners to hear from you, who is a genealogy librarian.
Well, the first thing I tell people is I am the resident genealogist for your personal resident genealogist. So people can come to me at the library, and my job is to help them with whatever their question is, help them find whatever they're looking for. And so that's, my area of expertise. I also do classes, but people can come to me for one-on-one genealogy help.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
So you're helping everybody? I mean, what does a typical client look like?
It's anywhere from beginning to helping people figure out family search and how to find a record, especially with the affiliate thing where sometimes you can't get a record at home. You have to go to the library, the affiliate, to get a record, to figuring out DNA, literally. People ask me about that, figuring out how to do their online genealogy, figuring out what we have at the library that's available to them. And we do have quite a collection of things. Most people walk in thinking, oh, well, do I have to be from Topeka to do genealogy here? I'm like, no, nobody's from here. Especially going pretty far back. But we do have quite a collection, and we do have the ability to help people find their genealogy no matter what. One of the things that I'm really proud of, number one, is our family history collection. So we have a family history collection that you can check out, and it's also available to interlibrary loan, which means wherever you are, you can see what we have and literally have it shipped to you. The other thing is Hold
on a second. Family History Library, is that the Family History microfilm type library from a family? No, so that is
histories. Like if you write your family history and we have the book.
Got it.
There you go. Okay, so you ready now? The other part that I'm really, really proud of is our Germans from Russia collection. We have the entire set of the Germans from Russia journals and newsletters. And that's pretty important because, there's a lot of Germans that live in Kansas and came here to Kansas. So that's pretty important. I like that collection quite a bit. We also have the Immigrations and Passenger collection, which is by Philby. And it is not digitized. It was at one point, but they decided they didn't want it digitized anymore. So I think they took it down.
They got something done. They had something digitized, and then they took it down?
Yeah.
That's interesting.
It is. I'm like, we really need that digitized because if you know anything about the passenger list, it's like 30, 40 volumes. And every year they go through passenger list and naturalization papers and all those kinds of things. And they put it in this book that's an index that tells you where it is so that you can go find it wherever it is. And this is something that should be digitized.
I definitely agree with that. That's it. Yeah, I found... What was it? My a great granduncle from a passenger list. I think that's how many greats it should be in front of
Kathleen
Peter
knows.
or Paul or whatever his name was. No, she doesn't.
Oh, you don't?
Oh no, I can't afford her. In fact, Sherri, I have some work I need to do, and so I was going to come down to Topeka and I'll visit with you.
Doesn't hurt my feelings at all, sure.
No,
he
not
needs to
at
do
all.
his own work.
Yeah, she has done. She says she hasn't done it, but she putters. And she'll spend 10 minutes after I've spent 45 minutes and come up with what I was looking for. And so I usually punt and just say, do me a solid when
Does
you
it
get
really
a
take me
chance.
10 minutes, John?
Yeah, about 10 minutes to find the stuff I'm normally looking for.
So, Sherri, I really wanted to talk to you today, and John and I had talked it. This is February, and we would like to have some things that are Black History Month centric, and not just for the African American listeners, but for all of our listeners. So I thought we would start by basically telling people what is OGS and what are some resources. So I'm going to have you answer a few questions. You ready?
Mm-hmm. Oh, this sounds like a lightning round.
We call it OGS. What does it stand for again?
Afro-American Historical and Genealogical Society.
And you also mentioned you have a Kansas chapter. Now, I did notice that there are about 19 chapters, 18 chapters, right?
There are more. There are 33 chapters. And growing.
33.
Wow.
Yes.
I didn't see that on the website. Okay, well, this is even more fabulous.
Well,
Yeah.
so how if I wanted to become a member, and once I was a member, what sort of resources would I have
Oh
at
my.
my disposal? Yes.
So the first thing is we have a website called ogs.org, aahgs.org, and you would go on there and scroll down to say become a member. One of the cool things about it is you can go to the chapter portion of the website, which is you'll find it on the header, and click on it, and it'll show you all the chapters all across the country. If you see any that you're interested in, when you're going to log in or create your membership, you would add that chapter as part of your membership. So you can join as many chapters as you want. So if you're researching in South Carolina, for instance, or in Tennessee or Florida or, any of our chapter areas, you can literally join those chapters too.
And I'm assuming that if I let's say join a chapter, then that would be an additional group of resources and people
Absolutely.
that I'd be able to communicate with and say, hey, I'm looking for this document.
They would know,
So-
they would be experts in their area knowing what's available.
Got it. So how do you get connected with an actual expert? Once I become a member of that chapter, let's say Kansas, then I get you, and then you tell me what happens or where I should go next?
That sounds good, yeah. No, we have meetings every month. We've changed over the years. We've had our charter since 2011. We actually formed in 2010, but we've had our charter that long. Once you become a member of our chapter, then you are plugged into everything that we're doing. So you'll get an email and you'll be plugged in. And so one of the things that's important to know is that you don't have to be in Topeka or in Kansas in order to be a member. And that's the same for the rest of the chapters, because we do have our meetings. After COVID started, we had them virtual 4 until the end of last year. And so now we have them both in person and virtual. So we call it hybrid now. So we literally have our meetings all the time. And we also communicate, and different members will say, well, I'm interested in this, or I want to talk about that. And we literally can communicate with one another.
Sherri just mentioned the charter, and just because I felt left out of being the knowledgeable one here, I want you to know that I was a charter member.
Oh, you were a charter. So needy.
That's my contribution to this conversation. And I've been an AUGS member, and so I am an AUGS member up to this December when I retired officially, but I have been an AUGS supporter throughout. Sherri, can you share with us about the conference? I know there's a conference coming up.
Yes, there is. And so I'm going to point you to the website. The AUGS conference, actually the call for papers is open right now. And if you know what that means it's time to, if you have anything that you would like to submit to present, this is the time until the 28th of this month. But our conference is usually in the second week of October every single year, and this year's not different. And what's going to happen is it's going to be in Charleston, South Carolina, where the new International Museum is. The International African-American Museum is what it's called. And I'm dying to see it. I haven't seen it yet. Last time I was in Charleston, it wasn't up yet. But so it's going to be in that area. That's really kind of all I have right now. Usually connected to the conference, we also have tours. So that'll also be interesting. I'm sure the museum will be part of that. And so we'll have speakers from all over the country and some international people speaking on various topics. And so I look forward to that quite a bit.
It sounds great.
I'm going.
You're going.
I'm considering it myself, Sherri, but that's John's birthday month and John's birthday week. So
it sounds like a perfect birthday present. Take me to a genealogy conference, honey.
So the conference does sound fun, though, this year in Charleston. And maybe I can talk Mr. Branton hanging out with me.
Now I'm retired. I've lost 90% of my excuses for not going to a genealogy conference.
So, Sherri, one of the things I also wanted to ask you about was, let's go back to Topeka, because it's my place.
That's right.
You wrote a book about Topeka. Can you tell the listeners about that?
I want to start with why I wrote it. And it was something that had happened serendipitously. I would have this thing, in doing research, one of the first resources that I look for when I am looking into a area that I've never been and doing research is I want to look at the county history and find out what's happening in the county history. And the turn of the 20th century, the president says, hey, everybody needs to write their 100th year history and for their counties. And unfortunately, a lot of those county histories did not include people of color. So one of the things that I thought was very necessary were Black county histories, which to some extent exist in the Image of America series. Let's see, there's several different pieces of it. There's one specifically for Blacks, but the one that I actually have done, it is not a Black series. It's just the Image of America series for Topeka. And I was asked to do it, which I hear is uncommon. But anyway, I did it. And so I was really glad to do it. So African-American Topeka is the name of my book. And what it does is it covers about 150 years of African-American history in Topeka. I did put out a lot of, would you please give me some information in the news and just trying to get people to respond. I didn't get a lot of response, so I ended up doing a lot of the research, which was cool. It doesn't cover everything, of course, but it kind of it covers churches and schools, Black businesses and organizations and things like that, music and sports. Not a lot, just barely covering the surface. My objective was to just kind of tell some of the history that just wasn't out there. And so it was really quite fun. Just our last meeting, which our meetings are on the first Monday. So we just had one this past week. And one of the people who was in our meeting said, hey, I was looking through your book and I saw my grandmother and I just started crying. It was just reminding me. And I'm like, that is so cool. And so I find people all the time who will say, I really like the idea that you have pictures of people who I knew or who I need to know about. So it's still been, the book came out in 2013, but it's still been quite a great centerpiece for the community to talk about their own history.
I think it's a fabulous book. I don't remember, though, you do talk about Tennessee Town in there, right? Mm-hmm. And John, Tennessee Town, I think we've mentioned it once before on one of the podcasts, but Tennessee Town is the Black community, traditional Black community. Most of them came from Tennessee to Topeka and settled. And that's where a lot of my families also settled in the Tennessee Town area before, generations ago.
Right.
So thanks, Sherri, for that. And thanks for that contribution.
Yeah. Okay. So before you actually compiled everything, had everything compiled for the book, were you aware of the extent of the history in the Topeka area? Or was it enlightening for you to end up doing that research and read the responses that you got back from your requests? Or was it something like, there's a rich history here, I know there is, and then you're kind of working from that place? Or were you working from a place of all of a sudden finding out what a rich history there is?
So that's a really good question. I'm glad you asked it, because I do my own family research, of course, which is how I got started being a genealogist in the very first place. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, this is going to take forever, the rest of my life, so I might as well get involved in this. And that's really what started me to be a genealogist. That was it. And then, of course, I've already talked to you about, the histories that don't exist, compiled already. But one of the things that I found as I was doing my own personal family history is that my great grandparents and my great grandparents came here during the Exodus, which is in 1879, 1880. And so I had a little bit of background in what the rich history of Topeka was. And so learning that they came during the Exodus was like, wow, this is part of my family too. And so then the next step was just learning more about African Americans in Topeka. But I did know there was a lot there. I didn't know the extent of it. And I'm still learning because, it's a lot. The Exodus was such a big deal. They had congressional hearings on it. They had what they call it, colored conventions on it. So, there was a lot going on, and there's still a lot to unravel.
Yeah, I was curious about it because I used to be, at one point, I remember being surprised at how much African American history was collected and was known, but is not really disseminated.
I think Black History Month is for an exposure to share, to help educate those who are unfamiliar with African American contributions. However,
I
didn't
say it. I didn't say it.
I heard it.
However, I like to remind people that African Americans are African American 12 months out of the year. So this is just one month that we try to share. We try to be advocates of other people to learn. And I think that's what we want to keep going. No matter what happens on other fronts, we need to let people know. And they need to have the resources to know. Let me just put it that way.
That's probably one of the great things about COGS and OGS is that you're out there for people to maintain that. And I'm sure that you have a lot of resources for everyone. It's not, even though it is an African American association, I'm sure that there are numerous resources that would be super valuable to researchers of all stripes. Can I say that?
Well, that's correct, because without having knowing the African American history, we know that that's how a lot of times we even find white enslavers is through the enslaved. That might be my only way of finding the difference between one John Smith from another, maybe by tracing Lovejoy the slave. So these kind of things are important. It's really Americans' history.
Unfortunately, as we all know, many people want to try to strip those things apart, it's impossible. It's just absolutely impossible when, you start to look at all the different things that wouldn't be if it weren't for African Americans. It's just, it's impossible to look at one thing or another. But the thing about it is we also have to talk about it, because there are a lot of things that I have learned just in doing our meetings with COGS, that one year we had African-American inventions, and I believe, was it Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who literally has a book that came out 2 or 3 or 4 years ago, maybe. May have been, anyway, about Black inventions, that some of which I didn't know. And there's still things that I'm learning all the time that, our people have made things better, or made things because they needed it. Well, they say necessity is the mother of invention. And so, we're doing the work. We have to make something easier for ourselves. Therefore, you have all these inventions. And so there's still things we don't know that we should. We absolutely should. Not just African Americans, but all Americans.
I agree. All of that history is important. However, the neglected portions have been disproportionately, I think, representative of African Americans. When men served separately, African American men were having to serve separately in their own troops. Then you had women who were serving as well. I think they just had another movie come out on that.
Yeah. And the other movie is the Hidden Figures,
Yes, Hidden Figures.
Yeah, Kansas City was represented, okay?
Hugely. Yeah, and so there's that rich history. It's good enough for movies, but it doesn't seem to always make it to the history books, and that's
it's good enough for movies because somebody said this story needs to be told.
Yeah,
and the only way we can get it to people in, I guess, palatable ways is to make a movie, which I'm not against at all.
Oh no, not at all. It'd take them any day of the week, especially if it spurs the interest to find out the greater contributions, exactly. And we'll throw in Red Tails while we're there too.
Thank you. So we find that there were Tuskegee Airmen in Topeka and in just about every other place in the country. 6888.
Oh, 6888.
6888. The Black women who did the mail for the World War II, yes. Or during World War II. We had actually an African American woman here in Topeka. He's in my book. Her son is in my book. I interviewed him for a reveal that we did for Identity Quest, and come to find out, that was the first thing he told us. My mom was a 6888.
Oh, wow.
It took a while to find her, but when we found her, I'm like, wow, this is so cool. And then, of course, there's the monument that's in Leavenworth. Yes.
John, I want to stop this train here because I really want Sherri to mention and talk about the Identity Quest really quickly also.
Oh, okay.
So that's part of my day job. At the library, we came up with a way to help people learn more about, we were looking to do a genealogy roadshow type of show. And we were hoping to work with the Genealogy Roadshow. And this is dating this whole idea because it's been a while. And then they just stopped it. It's like, nope, we're not doing that anymore. That's this PBS speaking. And so we got with our local PBS station and says, hey, how can we do something like this? And that's where Identity Quest was born. So we have a conference every 2 years where we invite a guest speaker, and Kathleen's been there.
She's claiming it.
Then we have heritage celebrations where we can celebrate the various heritages that exist in Topeka, and we happen to have about 22 of them. And then we also talk about how to do genealogy, or whatever our call for papers comes up with. Usually we're celebrating heritage, and we always have talks on various heritages: Swedish, German, African American, Hispanic, ... And then we also have had reveals. So if you go to our website, you'll get to the genealogy page of the library's website, and then you can see where you can click on Identity Quest, and you'll see all of our sessions we've had and the reveals that we've done. And you'll also get to see the one, and the whole reason why I said that is the 6888 one. And the guy's name is Richard Jones.
Oh, very cool.
That's absolutely very cool. Excellent. John, as you mentioned, I have been a speaker there. It's a wonderful event. It's one of the events I go to whether or not I'm a speaker. So I've been to quite a few.
And when is Identity Quest normally held?
It's normally in November, and we do it every other year. So we had one in 2024, and the next one is supposed to be in 2026.
So, John, did you have something else for Sherri? Or Sherri, do you have something you want to share with us?
I do have a couple of things just really quickly. We have, as I said, meetings every month. COGS does. And we've had quite a few different things over the years. Anywhere from how to be a griot, your family's griot, to having guest speakers. We had Verta Bird on one year. I think it was in 2023. I don't know if you've ever heard of this one. She didn't know that she was black. She wasn't black. She was.
Yeah, I have heard of this.
Yeah, and they're making it a movie now.
Of course.
Maybe not her story specifically, but her husband's story. They Pullman car porters, I think it was, and so they're making a movie out of it. So it's really quite interesting. They had a lawsuit that they won. It's just a story I didn't know until I met Verta Bird. So it's just we've had all kinds of people come and speak to us. Just last year, or maybe 2024's theme was learning about the various Black history in the various towns in Topeka. So we've had Manhattan, Salina, Topeka, of course, Kansas City. No, that was 2023 because Verta Bird was part of that one. So we've really delved into a lot of different things, and of course, some of our main questions is, how can I do my family history? So we're going to do some of that this year.
Oh, that sounds fun. That sounds a lot of fun.
So that's your theme this year in 2025?
Oh, no. So far we have had one of our members, her name is Jean Klein from Lawrence. And we had Lawrence's Black History too, by the way. She was working on a project with the Oak Hill Cemetery there, where there are a lot of Black people buried, and she's working to identify them all. And she even had worked to identify some of my people and was telling me some stuff. I'm like, I didn't know that. So anyway, that was January. And this month we talked to the 1954 alumni, is kind of what we call them. People who have lived went to school to the 4 segregated schools in Topeka, and then changed over to desegregated schools and their experiences, and we call them living legacies. And so we were talking to them that was February. Next month, we'll be talking to another one of our members will be speaking about Black-owned resort in Colorado. And I think that that's just the most phenomenal story ever, because rich Black people had a resort back in the 20s. And so she's going to tell us that story in March, the first month.
Oh, that sounds like a lot of fun. In the last comment, Kathleen, Sherri, you were talking about finding remains,
right,
and naming remains. Does that dovetail into EVN, Kathleen, and kind of what they would do? Maybe that's a further conversation, even off the air.
Yes, that's a further conversation, John, because we're going to start giving out small grants to people who are just doing that and need help with their databases or need help with things. So, Sherri, I don't know if you know this, but we are board members and founding persons of Tracing Ancestors, tracingancestors.org. And we have something called Eternal Valor Network. And it's really about the military who are buried without honors or without recognition. But it includes everyone, especially African American or more disadvantaged, which seems to be a lot of African American communities. So I think a couple months ago, we had Michelle Cook on, who does the USCT in Missouri. And those are the kind of things we are looking for. The show notes will hold all of the links for this podcast, and anything that might be pertinent, be sure to share it with the COGS members.
I will. To piggyback on that, this particular researcher who did the Oak Hill Cemetery, her focus was actually the African American military people who were buried there.
Yeah, good.
So anything else, Sherri, that you have for us?
You know what? There's always so much. We could talk forever about African-American genealogy and all of the stuff that I teach and do. I do want to say one more thing, just so you know, about so my book has actually dovetailed into an exhibit that is here in Topeka. It started last year. It's called Our Stories, African American Topeka Before and After Brown. So it starts with the first African American woman who came to Topeka, which is in my book, and covers the span up until today, or at least in the 2020s. And so we've had quite a bit of things going on. There's a lot of media that's in the room. So we have like different videos that are in different places. We talk about education, but the biggest thing that we talk about are the 4 or 5 Black names neighborhoods that made up Topeka. And of course, they were spread out all over the place. And so the objective of the exhibit is to kind of bring all of those communities together in one place.
And where
Very
is this
cool.
exhibit being shown?
It is right now at the Great Overland Station, which is, a train station that is no longer a train station.
Okay.
It's now kind of just a great big hall.
And how long would it take if I wanted to come through and see the exhibit? About how long would it?
I would say give it at least an hour, but if you're going to read everything and look at all the videos, you may need to.
2 hours, so it'd be a perfect day trip, perfect time to grab lunch, go see an excellent exhibit, and learn a bit about the country and African-American history or American history, however you want to say it.
Yes.
Thanks, John. It sounds like a day date.
I think I just picked one.
Wonderful. I'll be glad to see you guys here, and I'll watch personally.
Okay, perfect. Okay, I think we're good. Thank you, Sherri, so much for this. I appreciate you making the time on a Saturday morning.
Thank you. I really appreciated being here.
And Sherri, thanks for being patient with me and all things that happen with Kathleen trying to get ready for our podcast.
It's all good. I'll go for the territory, right?
Yeah, fire your producer. I think he's the one. He's the one that has the issue. Well, congratulations, you made it to the end of another episode. Thanks so much for staying. Thanks to Sherri Camp for chatting with us. Thanks to new listeners in Japan, France, and Norway. Thanks to Chewy Chewbacca Brandt, our part-time bed warmer and full-time squirrel aggravator, for his unwavering lack of interest in anything we're doing. The theme song for Hittin the Bricks was written and performed by Tony Fistknuckle and the Klingons. Watch for the next appearance at the Wiener Schnitzel on 2233 Riverside, Iowa. You can find us wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. Do you have a genealogical question for Kathleen? Drop us a line at hittinthebricks@gmail.com and let us know.